They were your typical good.
What we loved about them, they were all just different.
In the peaceful American countryside, the Dunham family's home stood out amidst the ancient trees and lush green lawns. They were the embodiment of the American dream, a successful, happy couple with 3 adorable, well-behaved children whose laughter filled the air every evening. From the outside, the Dunhams appeared to have everything that anyone in the town could wish for, yet behind those walls, a shadow crept silently, a darkness so deep that no one could have imagined. Hello, I'm John. Welcome to Killer Cases. Today, we'll dive into a mysterious, unsolved case that wiped out an entire family. Stay tuned, share your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel for more true crime stories. Melissa Dunham, the gentle yet ambitious mother, was always the center of admiration. With a strong educational background and impressive career accomplishments, she had recently been promoted to partner at her firm. Meanwhile, her husband Jason, quiet and distant, was a mystery to everyone. Even within his own family, he rarely ventured outside, and few people knew much about him. Rumors in the small community hinted that Jason was controlling of his family, but no one suspected that something deeply unsettling was taking root in the Dunham household. Then one day, the tranquility of the countryside was suddenly shattered as the Dunham house became eerily silent. Melissa didn't show up for work. The children were absent from school, and their home turned into a zone of haunting silence. At that moment, no one could foresee the horrific truth that was about to surface. When the police finally stepped inside, a dark mystery unfolded. What they witnessed behind that door was a true nightmare. Who could have done this? What had turned a happy family into a tragedy? Neighbors began piecing together the smallest details, the subtle signs that perhaps they had sensed but chosen to ignore. But now, all of that was too late. Behind the peaceful exterior of that countryside home, Melissa Dunham stood out as a woman admired by the entire town. In the eyes of the community, she was the epitome of a modern woman, talented, confident, and accomplished, born and raised in a middle-class family in Ohio. Melissa had always been the pride of her family and the hope of her community. Not only was Melissa an outstanding student, but she was also a woman with strong ambitions. Graduating with an MBA from Kent State University, she continued her studies, earning a master's degree in taxation from the University of Akron. Her career path was nothing short of a rapid ascent. At the age of 24, Melissa joined BMF, one of the state's most prestigious accounting firms. Over 18 years, she climbed the ranks to become a partner, reaching a pinnacle of success that many could only dream of. But for those who knew Melissa's journey, a question lingers: how could a seemingly perfect woman, with an illustrious career and an idyllic family life, descend into such a horrific tragedy? Behind her radiant smiles, her inspiring speeches, and numerous awards, could there have been an invisible pressure that only she could feel? Melissa may have succeeded in keeping that facade intact in front of others, but within the walls of her own home, was something slowly eroding everything she had built? The dreams of success and pride in her independence perhaps masked something only the silent walls had witnessed. The biggest question remains unanswered. Could the tension between her thriving career and her marriage to a quiet, mysterious husband have sown the seeds of this inevitable tragedy? We can only continue delving deeper to find the answers to the mysterious death of the Dunham family. Jason Dunham was a quiet, reserved, and mysterious figure, the kind of husband the town only knew through his faint shadow beside Melissa, the star of the business world. Jason rarely appeared in public, and when he did, he kept his distance, his gaze distant, his expression unreadable. People said that if you ever caught his eye, an inexplicable sense of unease would start creeping into your mind. This mystery had, perhaps, become a quiet topic of conversation among the neighbors, while Melissa rose through the ranks, becoming the admired role model everyone looked up to. Jason seemed to stand still in his career, occupying an obscure, unremarkable position in sales. What thoughts might grow in a man's heart as he watches his wife's success while he quietly fades into the background? Could a hint of jealousy, a feeling of being overshadowed, slowly twist into an obsession? Some who had interacted with Jason noted that, at times, he could be warm and caring, but then he'd suddenly shift, his gaze would sharpen, his tone deepen, almost becoming threatening. Above all, he seemed to want control over everything in the household. The children were rarely allowed outside, and when they accompanied their father, they seemed cautious, almost fearful. No one could say for certain what went on behind the Dunhams' closed doors. But that sense of something amiss, the shadowy look in Jason's eyes, made more than a few people wonder. Was he hiding something? Could it be that beneath this man's quiet demeanor lay a deeply troubled mind, a simmering anger silently growing, waiting for the moment to erupt? Or, perhaps, deep within him was a dark secret that no one had ever glimpsed? It all remains a mystery, but perhaps his shadowy presence holds the key to the tragedy silently awaiting this family. In the final days of August, beneath the oppressive heat of summer, an eerie atmosphere began to seep into the small town. There was something unsettling about the Dunham family. Neighbors, once accustomed to the joyful laughter of the children, Renee, Amber, and Evan, now found only silence. The Dunham yard, where the children used to play every afternoon, was disturbingly quiet, as though the entire house had been enveloped by a shroud of secrecy. People stole glances over the fence, searching for any sign of life, but only the trees swayed gently in the breeze, seeming to guard a dark secret. Whispers grew when it became clear that all three children were missing from school, with no explanation given. Renee, the girl with the radiant smile who always greeted everyone she passed, was suddenly nowhere to be seen. Amber, who loved to bring baked treats to the neighbors, no longer appeared. Even Evan, the playful boy fascinated with Legos, had vanished. The disappearance of all three children stirred a deep unease, especially as neighbors looked toward the house with its tightly drawn curtains, obscuring any view inside. At Melissa's workplace, her colleagues grew anxious when she failed to show up, something that had never happened in her 2 decades there. Melissa was always the first to arrive, dedicated and consistent, never taking unexpected absences. Calls went unanswered, messages unreturned. Her absence cast a vague shadow over the office, as if a silent omen were creeping into their daily routine. Meanwhile, Jason, the quiet husband, began to appear more peculiar to the few neighbors who caught a glimpse of him. Some even reported seeing him standing by the window, gazing out with a cold, distant look, as though his mind were locked onto something far away. One neighbor once caught sight of the children inside, standing motionless, their eyes vacant, as if held captive in a world Jason fully controlled. These signs, seemingly trivial, carried an undercurrent of dread. The Dunham home, once a symbol of happiness and success, had now transformed into a looming enigma in the heart of the town, a place no one dared to approach. What secrets were buried within those walls? And why had a family that seemed so perfect fallen into such ominous darkness? On the first day of Melissa's absence, a sense of unease crept through the office. Her colleagues couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Melissa was known for her punctuality, her dedication to work, and she rarely took a day off. Missing a single day was strange, but what truly raised alarms was her complete silence. No calls returned, no messages answered. It was as if she had vanished from her daily routine. By the second day, worry turned into panic. Quiet whispers spread through the office, one question after another. What happened to Melissa? The growing tension, her silence, felt like a warning sign that something was terribly amiss. Finally, when no one could bear it any longer, an urgent decision was made. They contacted the police. Patrol cars quickly made their way toward the Dunham family home, red and blue lights flashing in the night, casting an eerie glow over the town's quiet streets, as if foretelling something grim. When the police arrived, things only seemed more suspicious. Melissa's car sat parked right in front. No signs that she had left. The mailbox was overflowing with untouched letters, and scattered packages lay on the lawn, covered in a thin layer of dust. The officers knocked on the door, urgently, persistently, but only silence answered. After a brief pause, they made the decision to break in. The moment they stepped inside, an overpowering stench hit them, a smell of decay and death that forced each of them to take a step back. Their footsteps were heavy as they moved forward, each darkened room swallowing any sound, leaving only an eerie silence. Flashlights swept across the walls, and then they stumbled upon a horrifying scene. Each room held a corner of tragedy that none of them could have imagined. The lifeless bodies of the Dunham family lay there, cold and unmoving, shrouded in an atmosphere of death and mystery. What they found inside that house was a true nightmare, a dark truth that would haunt everyone in the town from that day forward, one that no one would ever forget. As the police ventured deeper into the Dunham residence, the air grew thick with a chilling stillness, each of their steps slow and wary. Flashlights swept across every wall, every shadowed corner, until the beams settled on a sight that would haunt them forever. Bodies lying motionless on the floor, cold and silent. Each member of the family bore gunshot wounds, with multiple rounds fired in one fateful night. A bloody, ruthless tragedy. Immediately, countless questions filled the minds of the officers. There were no signs of forced entry, no evidence of a stranger's presence, no broken windows or locks. The house was completely sealed from within, as though the entire tragedy had been meticulously planned. The only physical clue was a gun lying quietly nearby, a gun that belonged to the Dunhams themselves. The entire neighborhood was stunned, unable to fathom how such a horror could occur in the heart of their peaceful community. And yet, one question haunted everyone. How could so many shots have been fired without a single soul hearing a thing? The Dunham house was located in a busy neighborhood, where even the smallest sounds would normally carry far. But on that night, there was only silence, no gunshots, no cries for help, only a chilling stillness that shrouded everything. Rumors began to swirl, whispers of family violence and of a simmering rage that finally erupted into a night of bloodshed. Had Jason meticulously planned each step, leading his family to the brink? Or was there a darker force at play, trapping the household in a horrific end? As the police exited the house, their flashlights dimming, they left behind a space that was no longer the peaceful home everyone once knew. It had become a place of dread, a haunting ground where the ghosts of cold truths lingered, waiting to be uncovered. The entire town now faced its greatest mystery, an unanswered question whose shadows promised to cast a lasting and unforgettable chill over them all. When the police suggested that the Dunham family tragedy might have been the result of a sudden, uncontrolled rage, it seemed like an easy explanation. But to the neighbors who had interacted with Jason, there was a sense that something far more sinister lay beneath. Strange images and subtle signs resurfaced in their memories, each one a fragment of a dark puzzle, revealing a different story altogether. Jason was not the type to show emotions openly. He always maintained an eerie distance, cold and detached, with a manner of control over his family that felt unsettling. He managed everything with meticulous precision, from his children's schedules to every step taken within the house. One neighbor recalled a chilling moment when she accidentally caught Jason's gaze through a window, a gaze that seemed to hide something unreachable, a disturbing calmness, as if he was immersed in a grim calculation. Now, with the full weight of the tragedy exposed, the idea of a mere outburst of rage seemed insufficient. The neighbors began to wonder, was this really an impulsive act, or the culmination of a plan Jason had silently crafted over time? A dark plan, pieced together with precise detail, like elements of a game only he truly understood. Clues around the home deepened the mystery. A neighbor remembered that Jason had purchased a large safe just weeks prior, but no one knew what it was for. Others recalled that they hadn't seen the children playing outside since the summer. And Melissa, once so vibrant and sociable, had become increasingly withdrawn. It was as if, step by step, Jason had drawn inward, slowly isolating his family, constructing an invisible prison within what was supposed to be their home, within each person's heart. A chilling theory began to form, the idea that this wasn't a spur-of-the-moment tragedy, but the execution of a plan Jason had crafted with cold precision. Could this have been a play where Jason was the sole director, quietly scripting the fate of his own family? And now, as each piece of the puzzle fell into place, a darker and more horrifying truth emerged, causing everyone to shudder. This may not have been just a family tragedy, but a masked plot hiding a terrible plan, a plan Jason had meticulously arranged, pushing his entire family to the very edge of darkness. The tragedy of the Dunham family left a deep, chilling scar on the town, an empty void that seemed impossible to fill. On the day they departed, the peace of this place vanished with them, and each street, each house, seemed to sink into a haunting silence. In the days that followed, friends, neighbors, and Melissa's colleagues gathered for a candlelit vigil, where each flame was a fragile light in the thickening darkness. The attendees remembered the Dunham family with warmth, energetic children and a devoted mother. But beneath the condolences, a current of suspicion ran deep. A scholarship fund was established in the Dunham family's name to honor Melissa's children and her tireless contributions to the community. Yet, even as their names were celebrated, a persistent question lingered in the minds of many, like a shadow that refused to fade. Was this truly just a dispute taken too far? Or was there something darker, deeper, that no one could have known? Rumors began to spread, as small details were pieced together, each person quietly searching for a hidden truth. Some remembered Jason's cold stare, while others questioned the strange series of events leading up to the tragedy. One unsettling question surfaced, a chilling theory. Was this the eruption of a silent rage, a meticulously crafted plan waiting to unfold? Or could there have been a darker force within that house, an invisible power guiding them to their fate? As the candles from the vigil finally flickered out, darkness reclaimed the town. The questions, the theories, the wary glances, they would continue to haunt the minds of the townspeople. A whisper that would forever go unanswered. A shadow still lurked behind the tragedy, as if the story was not truly over. As night falls and darkness cloaks the small town, the tragedy of the Dunham family lingers as a haunting mystery, an enigma with no answer. The townspeople can't help but wonder, what truly happened within those walls? Was this simply a family dispute spiraling out of control? Or was there something darker, more deeply hidden, that no one could have ever suspected? Jason Dunham, with his distant stare and unreadable gaze, was he merely a husband and father? Or was he the key to this entire tragedy? One question hangs in the air, unspoken yet ever present. How long had Jason been planning this? Step by step, each detail may have been silently and coldly orchestrated, waiting for that fateful night to explode in those final, deafening gunshots. But that theory only scratches the surface of this complex story. The townsfolk are left baffled by one unsettling detail. How could multiple gunshots have rung out without anyone hearing them, in that absolute silence? Is it possible that something beyond human understanding prevented the truth from being revealed? Some invisible force that kept the darkness shrouded? This case has no clear answers, and it is precisely this ambiguity that makes the story so gripping, like a detective novel that everyone wants to dive into, desperate to turn each page until the end. So, what do you think? Was this simply a tragic outburst, or the calculated act of a man with a dark secret? Each person in town has their own theory, and each strange clue only deepens the mystery further. We may never know the truth, but the Dunham family story will forever be a dark question mark, an unsolved mystery, a tale that never really ends. Share your thoughts and join us in unraveling this unsolved enigma. Could one of our theories hold the key to the truth? Thank you for joining me as we revisited this tragic case. I'm John. This is Killer Cases, and I'll see you in the next video.